Welcome to Smash Writing. I am your host, Paul. This is your other host, the middle finger, Justin. Today, we are reviewing the horror film Wishmaster.
Fear one thing, and all that it is. Fear the gin.
Now,
love this movie!
Well, there goes our review. Till next week, guys.
Bye, we're done. Go watch it immediately. I can hide my excitement for the Wishmaster. Come on.
I know. Go and break down the plot.
The plot, pretty simple. We open up. This is Persia in the year 1197, 87?
Something like that.
And we see the king. This was after Islam conversion. Islam is in full effect. And we see the king, or we hear the king's voice, and he's like, he wants wonders, so the Wishmaster gives him wonders. And everyone's dying, everyone's being turned into reptiles and stone and...
Party of the century.
Party of the century, baby. And you get the wizard who's like struggling to get his way through all this madness, and he just manages to stop the king from making his third wish, and he traps the djinn in the stone he made. And they built a statue of Ahura Mazda. Ahura Mazda is the name of
Wow!
Good. I'm ready for this movie. I've watched it too many times. But we jump to present day, and the stone has been hidden in a statue of Ahura Mazda, which is being transported to a collector.
Yeah. Which the collector is...
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
But the collector is waiting at the docks for his statue to come down. He's being crane lifted, but the crane operator is drunk. And he's stammering with the controls. He knocks over his drink, spills all over the things, and the Ahura Mazda falls off the ship and breaks.
And kills.
We'll talk about that later.
I feel like just seeing your face, me and you agree on that scene, that that was the one negative of this movie, but go on.
But anyway, while the dock workers are all cleaning up the pieces and everything, because there's a guy dead now.
Screw that.
Well,
pick it up.
The collector doesn't give a rat's ass about the fact he just lost his PA, alright? He's more upset he lost his statue.
Yeah.
But one of the dock workers sees a stone and a fire opal, and he pockets it and takes it to a pawn shop. The pawn shop takes it to the appraisers, and that's where we meet Alex, the woman we'll be following through the movie.
Yes.
She's currently playing tennis, though, with a friend, and the friend wants to be more than friends. You know, it's mid-90s, that kind of movie. But she goes back to work after saying she'd think about it. And she's looking at the stone, and she breathes on it, and she rubs it up. Classic genie. She's awoken the djinn.
Yes.
It's in the process of coming out, but she's starting to get flashes and images, and she sees something. So she takes it to her friend, and he's going to run an analysis on it. And while he's running the analysis on it, the djinn awakens and explodes. The stone, it breaks everything, and it goes into him, and he's bleeding to death, and you see like this baby djinn.
God, I love these wishes.
And he crawls over, he's like, do you want it to stop? Do you want your pain to stop? I can ease your pain. He's like, yes, and the djinn kills him. And the dream, or the wish, allows him to regenerate back into the monster we see at the beginning.
The more
of the
souls
movie.
he takes, the more powerful.
Yeah, he'll become more powerful. But it's also the stone itself too, as we learn throughout the movie, that the stone was a doorway to lock him back into the void where the djinn are. But he can power the stone now himself and use that same doorway to let his kind in, if he can get the person who let him out to grant them three wishes, which is Alexandra. But he can't find her. He knows she's out there, he knows who it is, but he needs to track her down.
And that's the cool thing, because it shows you that as powerful as he still has to investigate, he still has to get to these points.
So you see, first off, he runs into a hobo who's got it out for the guy at the pharmacist, and he wishes that the pharmacist would get cancer and die. So
all the ways
he's done.
And
you
the
just
crazy thing
see-
is, like, the way he smoothed into the wish too
Yeah.
was a smooth thing. Like, of all the things.
That is the thing, as he goes along, the Wishmaster is just the smoothest goddamn talker. But you see the pharmacist, like, pus bubbling on his
Which
face.
is another cameo.
Yep, but there were 2 cameos in that scene. You missed the one.
The homeless man was.
Yep, he was a cameo too.
I forgot.
We just talked about him. What do you mean?
Did we?
No, we haven't talked about him yet. We
Okay.
will. But anyway, then you see him going to the morgue to collect the face of the dead man. Who the dead man is himself. It's Andrew Divoff. As he's cutting his face off, the morgue tactician, the assistant, comes in and he's like, "I take it this is something you don't want to see." He's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Done." And his eyes just seal shut. But as he's getting more powerful, he finally gets up to the point where he just needs Alexandra's 3 wishes.
Yes.
And all this time she is racing around trying to find information about what she's up against. And she finds out it's a djinn, and djinn cannot actually harm you. You need to wish for it. But
Which we see it in a scene where when he's going into to get, and this is like early in the scene,
Yeah.
where he goes to her boss's building, and the guard, another cameo,
yeah. Well, I love, first off, before we get to that one, the guard orders, he's like, "Are you want me to wish for something? I wish you'd leave."
yeah,
And you see Divoff just like, "No, I must." And he's like being forced down the hall because he's been told
and,
to leave.
and all this person had to do was
Shut up.
shut
And,
up. But then he goes,
"Well, you'd have to make it through me," and I just love to see that. And he like morphs him into the glass and walks through the glass. That scene was great.
yeah.
But then you followed up with the guy who wants $1 million for her address.
Oh, that.
And he's like, "Done." And you see
Then it cuts to a random scene, which is funny because it's his mother signing a new.
insurance policy because she's getting on a plane for $1 million, and as the plane's taking off, it blows up. Good lord! But it gets to the point where it's time for her 3 wishes, and because of the way he's been tracking her down, he knows where she'll go, and he takes the face of the mythology teacher, folklore teacher at the college,
Wendy.
and she shows up and she starts suspecting something's off, so she goes to leave, and he shows himself, and he gives her a free wish to get in the spirit of the game, and she's like, "Oh, I want you to blow your brains out right now." And he pulls out a gun from nowhere, and his brains blow out, and it respawns.
Now his line after that
It's
was
the greatest line.
He goes, "You can't kill what's eternal," but he's like,
"That which
but
is
if it makes
eternal
any
cannot die."
Yeah, and he's like, "But if it makes any correlation, if it helps you, that did hurt like hell."
Good lord, you butchered the shit out of that.
I know.
That which is eternal cannot die. But if it's any consolation, sweet Alex, that hurt like hell. But she makes a wish, and she wishes to know the djinn. So
Yeah.
he puts her in the stone. And he's in there with her, and he's like, "I'm despair," and you see all the people who made wishes suffering.
Yeah.
And his dog thing goes after her, and she ends up with like this dead end, and he's now outside of the stone, and he's like, "I'm gonna go see your sister now," and she has to wish herself out of the gem.
She wishes
So
she was
she
back home.
immediately, because she messed up the first one, she immediately had to race the second one, and now they are so connected that he's there.
And he tells her, he's like, "Wherever you go, you're not gonna outrun me."
You cannot run me. Like, he shows up when she stops on the side of the road. He shows up when she gets to the party. And there's another party death scene. Fantastic death scenes. Good goddamn lord. These party scenes should be the bar for mass murder scenes.
Once again, even before he goes into that party.
You get another cameo.
Should
And,
have had it like a clicker every time. Click!
Click, click, click. But I love that scene too. He's like, "Don't you just wish to escape the toils of this everyday
And there's
life?"
that smooth talking like,
Yeah.
he's literally about to get his ass kicked.
And he turns it around immediately.
And he's like, "Don't you," like, and it was crazy. It was smooth.
He's like, "Don't you wish to escape?" Yes. And then you see him just appear in a tub of water in a straitjacket.
Then he walks in front and goes, Houdini did it in
2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
But the party scene starts, and the collector is there. It's his party. And the Jinn is like, I once knew of a party that was talked about for a century. He's like, I'd like my party like that. And he's like, well, so be it.
Yeah.
And a party scene begins all over again. But they track Alex to the room. There's no more running. She can't get out. And he's like, oh, let me show you what I've painted you a picture. Call it Sister. Why have you forsaken me? And he shows it's her sister trapped in a painting. And he's like, he catches it on fire, and it's duplicating a scene from, we don't see it, but they talk about, you see a flashback that she was in a fire. And Alex was able to save her sister, but she couldn't save her parents, and it really fucked with her head.
Yeah.
And he's pretty much making her relive that moment, because he's trying to get her to make the third wish, so he can release his brethren. And you see her, you hear her just start thinking, and she's
because she knows if she says any type of wish without the exact words, it's going to backfire on her. So she has to be smart.
One wish is all it's going to take for him to reign free, and he's no longer bound by wishes. And she's thinking, and she's remembering, you're seeing the flashbacks, and she's thinking about the article she'd read about the statue in which it said Mikey Tortelli was drunk at the controls.
And that's what she had to really think about, because she had to get that
name right. And her final wish was, she wishes that Mikey Tortelli was not drinking the
day of
2 days ago.
Yeah.
And because she made that wish, he never escaped the jet. And everything snaps back to 2 days prior.
So all the events never happened, so he's back.
And the statue is safely lowered and placed in the collector's office.
And unfortunately, Teddy
lives.
Teddy lives.
And she goes on the date with the friend she was unsure of. Happy ending by all.
Now,
this was glorious. Glorious!
I don't think I could ever come across a film that wasn't built as a horror comedy, but still gave you the horror and still gave you enough laughs.
Yeah, he was intimidating and charismatic and had a twisted sense of humor about him.
Yeah.
He had a lot of Freddy vibes. Yeah, he really liked fucking with you.
Yeah.
I loved that when he was dealing with the woman at the clothing store.
Yeah.
And he zoned in on the fact that she is looked eccentric. She was really valued her looks.
Yeah.
And he's like, doesn't it bother you that with time and age your looks will diminish to the point of unrecognizable? And she's like, well, that's kind of life, isn't it? And he's like, it doesn't have to be. All you have to do is ask. And he turns her into a mannequin.
Yeah. It was all his wishes were entertaining and twisted.
Yeah, they were twisted sense of humor on what you wanted.
I mean,
and it showed that he'll fuck with anything. Like when she wanted to know what he was, he put her in stuff. He's like, have fun.
Yeah, he's like, do you want to know what I mean? What?
And he said, and she was like, this is one that I asked for. And he's like, well, maybe you should word it better.
Yeah, yeah, he did give the Freddy sarcastic kill vibes going.
Yeah.
Right?
But he had intensity to him too. Like he was.
So you had that, and like I said, I love the fact that it was never a horror comedy.
Yeah.
It's straight horror, but just like how Freddy was, that sarcasm and the rips and everything that he was talking, just was like when you said when the guy wished for $1 million.
He killed his mom.
Killed his mom. I don't know why that one just really stands out.
That one, it's that one and the blow your brains out scene.
Yeah.
That blow your brains out scene was great. The eyes scene was really good, where he's like, "This is something you don't want to see, huh?" Done.
Even after the first couple wishes that you've seen, like even the beginning of the movie, you knew you were like, "Don't fucking wish for it."
Yeah, and it's like so easy. Like he just with the cop, he started noticing him looking into his side. He's like, "What's up?" He's like, "I've been trying to get this guy," because he's had that charisma about him. You lulled your self-defense to him because he's like the greatest salesman you've ever met in your life.
Now, let's talk about who's scarier.
Andrew Divoff or him as the Djinn?
Yeah.
Andrew Divoff. Good
I know.
Lord, that man.
That
because
dude.
he had the charisma and he could talk you into everything. But when you're watching him at first, it's like you see like this air, like this is not human.
Yeah.
He felt so alien.
He had
and
that
so
full
off. He
look
did not-
on his face. I mean, yeah, the details of the gym was very good, very scary too. But
He had like this. He'd just stare at you with this icy blue, with the same smile. Just
it was crazy.
it was like he was hanging on to your every word because he was waiting for you to say something to tip your hand.
Now the cameos.
The cameos. Let's get the list. God damn it! Right from the top, the collector, Robert Englund, the doorman who became Houdini.
Oh wait a minute, was that a cameo though?
Well, technically, Robert Englund has a bigger role than a cameo.
Yeah, so you can't count
Well, you still count him as being in the movie.
horror legends.
Horror legends.
And horror cameos.
What we got in this
Alright,
movie.
go ahead.
Robert Englund is the collector. The doorman was Tony Todd. That scene. Because Andrew Divoff sounds like he wakes up in the morning, he takes some pebbles and gargles it. And his opposite of that is Tony Todd, who wakes up in the morning, takes some pebbles and gargles it. So you had two deep talking motherfuckers just going back and forth with one another. And it was wonderful scene making. Just
You're like, look,
great.
it gave me chills.
God, wonderful. The security guard who wished for him to see him walk through him and became a shed of glass was Kane Hodder. Angus Scrimm was your narrator at the beginning of the movie. George Buck Flowers was your hobo, who wished cancer upon Reggie Bannister. And Ted Raimi was the assistant, who was squashed by the statue.
It seems like all of Ted roles, he dies in, like his cameos.
I guess.
Except Spider-Man, like what happened there. Ted died in Candyman.
No, I can't remember Candyman very well.
Okay, he was basically
There.
the story how the mess got started in a sense, and he was like the badass boyfriend, and he's like, yeah, let's go talk about Candyman, and he gets up there. It just seems like he dies in all of his cameos.
You know what I loved about this character, though, this role of the gym, is that he is not physically threatening. Because he cannot hurt you. He's not going to hit you. He's not going to throw you around. And I loved it when he's walking through the party. He's like swinging his hands like he's an orchestra director. And he's organizing the chaos.
Which he was.
Yeah. There's no words to describe the party scenes. They're just chaos.
I love the statues.
It's all the statues were great. There's all practical effects, not a whole lot of CG going on here. Like there was one scene where one guy hits the ground and his flesh begins to melt and tear, and his skeleton comes out of him and starts running havoc through the goddamn room. You have lungs popping out and tentacles flaring, and it is just these
The one
party
had like a
scenes.
little monster coming out of his stomach.
Yeah, at one point his lungs just turned into a monster. I don't know what's going on here. But it's like any big death party scenes, the Wishmaster's the bar.
Yeah.
You're not topping it, just try to match it. But he is so... But he's not physically threatening, and he is almost makes him worse.
Yeah.
Because he's turning everything around on you. And if you say anything close to a request, he's granting it.
Basically, like how with the security guard, you have to wish him away. You can't wish anything for yourself because that's where he actually twists it all.
But even then, if you wish him away, he got your soul. You wished something, he left, he now has your soul.
That is true, so it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
You can get rid of him in the physical realm if you just say, I wish you would leave, and that's it.
But it was come back, because he didn't say he had to stay away. That was like when she was like, I wish I was back in my apartment without you. That's why he immediately found her again.
And then he called her.
Yeah. He just called her on the phone.
So,
But it made the final girl, Alex, Tammy Lauren, feel that much more desperate and that much more smart when she beat him.
yes.
Because she really had to outthink him here.
And it was like, she was definitely the underdog even going into the final battle because she had to think about the right one because her bonus wish, 3 wishes before, was all epic fails.
Yeah. She failed to get him to kill himself. She botched the first wish, and which meant she had to waste her second wish. This was it. She couldn't leave the room. Him and the statues were blocking the door, and her
she was
sister's on
burning.
fire.
Yeah. So let's give it a grade.
Is there any cons?
What?
Is there any cons? I liked how the gin looked. I thought the prosthetics for the gin.
I did. I think the special effects, the practical effects were good.
The practical effects were amazing. Like that guy who was on fire, like really badly on fire. That guy was really on fire on set.
Yeah.
Like, goddamn.
Cons? I'll be. You know what? No, I'm not.
You get a bit of cheese.
Yeah, I think that
It is a B movie, but for a B movie, like this is top notch. Did this have a theater run? I don't remember.
Yeah, it did.
Did it have a theater
Yeah.
run? Okay.
1 and 2 did, not 3 and 4.
2 did not.
It did?
Did not.
Okay. 1, I believe, did. Cons.
I can't think of any.
I
This
really
is just
can't.
really solid movie.
Some you said maybe like some of the cheesiness.
It is a low budget movie, and it shows with the camera a bit. The audio is a bit off, I guess.
Yeah, I think if you're.
These are nitpicky as fuck. Go watch this movie. It's wonderful.
I think in the end, for me, I'm giving it an A, 90%.
I'm gonna give it an A.
I think the stopping it from being like 100% or an S tier movie for me, I think really is behind the camera stuff. Like you said, the camera work could have been better.
Yeah, A plus. I'll give it A plus. I'll give it a plus.
I'll give it 90A. Either way,
Fun times.
fun times. Love the cameos. Definitely calling
Okay.
it.
On camera, I'm gonna make you answer this.
Okay.
Are we continuing down the track? Because I guarantee you, when we hit 3 and 4, I'm going to be a very angry human being.
We
Flat
can.
out, just angry human being.
We can. I mean, that can be down the list of movies to review. We can do Wishmaster. We can do the series and then rank them.
You're asking for it.
Okay.
I'm warning you.
Until next time.
Bye-bye!